Saluki recording?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Recording has
start.
started. Yeah. Shall I start, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, one and all present. On the behalf of organizing team, Department of ENTC SIT Lonavala, I, Prashant DK, welcome you all for Day 5 online national level FDP on green and secure communications. Technically sponsored by IEEE Bombay section and the student branch of IEEE SIT Lonavala. I also welcome today's guest speaker, Dr. Pranav Pawar sir. Welcome you, sir. Today's session topic is security concern in green communication. So before start of the session, I would like to give brief introduction of today's guest speaker, Dr. Pranav Pawar sir. Dr. Pranav Pawar sir is graduated in computer engineering from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, Maharashtra, India in 2005. Received master degree in computer engineering from Pune University in 2007 and received PhD in wireless communication from Aalborg University, Denmark in 2016. His PhD thesis received the nomination for Best Thesis Award from Aalborg University, Denmark. Currently, he is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science, Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Dubai. He received recognition from Infosys Technologies Limited for contribution in Campus Connect program and also received different funding for the research and attending the conference at international level. He published more than 40 papers at national and international level. His research interests are energy efficient Mac for WSN, wireless security, green technology, computer architecture, database management system, and bioinformatics. Welcome you, sir, and thank you. We are really fortunate to have such a great personality with us. So without wasting time, I request today's guest speaker, Dr. Pranav Pawar, sir, to please start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so good morning, all of you.
Share your slides.
Good morning.
Yes, I am sharing my slides.
Yes, you can flash and start.
Yes, okay. Is my slides visible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so good morning, all of you. Welcome to the lecture, and thank you for the nice introduction, Professor Prashant, and thank you, Dr. Mantri, to give me an opportunity to speak in this FDP. So I will start with my session. So welcome to all participants also. As a part of today's session, we are discussing that about how we can make our wireless network, especially I'm considering a network as a IoT network. So how we can make IoT network green and secure. Just a minute. Shall I turn off my camera, sir, now? Okay.
Yes, sir, no issue.
Okay. So we'll start with the today's session. So the topic of today's session is that green and secure communication in Internet of Things. When we say Internet of Things, so there are different networks comes under the category of Internet of Things. That means we may say it's a network of sensors. It may be networks of some mobile devices. It might be computer network. So IoT is something kind of heterogeneous network which consists of different kinds of devices. So it's very necessary in such kind of heterogeneous network. It's very necessary to have our communication should be energy efficient, and at the same time it should be secure also, because there are different devices are there. So each devices do not have a same computational capability or a memory capability. So because of that, to use very heavyweight security mechanism on each devices, it might be not possible. So most of time in case of IoT network, we use some lightweight security mechanism. So still we want to secure our whole network. from different attacks. So as a part of this lecture, I will give you a brief introduction about how to make this network green and secure. We'll discuss different kinds of attacks in IoT networks. We'll discuss that attacks, and we'll try to discuss how this different attacks affects on to the communication in IoT network. And we also discuss about some kind of new attacks which we can say this may happen on a network on some specific situations, and how to deals with such kind of attack. So all this are the discussion point for today's lecture. So in this lecture, we are considering IoT networks in terms of the sensor network because sensors plays a major role in a IoT. So let's start with the introduction. Okay, so when we say IoT network, so one of the IoT network is a sensor network. So I think so everybody know what is wireless sensor network is. That where it's a network of sensors where each node have very less computational capabilities, less memory, less memory to have, and again we can say that in case of different kinds of wireless sensor network, we have different kinds of requirement. So if we are saying this wireless sensor network, so there are many applications are there for wireless sensor network. It can be useful for n number of applications like in industrial and business applications, for home, city and vehicle and weather monitoring, healthcare application, military application and agriculture application. So we can say simply like that, we cannot say IoT without wireless sensor network. Sensor networks plays a major role in IoT. So we should not skip this. So major security concern in IoT, if we want to consider that, we need to consider the security of whatever the sensing devices which we are using in IoT and how they are communicating with the IoT network. So that's a very important issue. So for making my all smart application which are helpful for sustainable human environment, so we want all these applications should be energy efficient. That means we want our WSN applications, WSN ecosystem should be energy efficient. Energy efficient in terms of that whatever the because every sensor consists of some battery, so we should use this battery in an efficient manner. So yes, there are different perspectives are there how we can use battery efficiently. But in the current session, we are considering mostly the energy efficiency in terms of a MAC layer. Yes, we already know that there are different layers of networks are there, starting from physical to application layer. Each layer, each layer do some kind of. Each layer is involved in the communication, and each layer is responsible for consuming some energy. So here we are majorly concerned with energy efficiency in terms of MAC layer. So when we say energy efficiency here, so the major thing which will that means which will help or which will affect on your energy efficient parameter, that the security attack which are happening on a sensor network. So when you say your sensor network, your sensor ecosystem should be energy efficient, at the same time you should think that this ecosystem should be secure, because if any attack will happen on a network, this attack will start some unnecessary communication in the network, and it will drain the energy of a sensor nodes, and it may leads to the partition of a network. Network may get partitioned into the different part. Might be my sensor node, which is very important, and then if we get attacked by some malicious user, then its energy will get drained, and that sensor node will not be in a network because its energy is drained, so it cannot work in a network full time. So my network will get affected. So for making this ecosystem to work in a better manner, we can simply say it as an IoT ecosystem or a WSN ecosystem. So to work this ecosystem in a better manner, that we want that we should consider both of these issues simultaneously, that it should be energy efficient also, and it should be secure too. So now how we can make it both things, how we can make it possible. So so we can understand from this perspective that that okay, at the same time we want to make it our communication green, but at the same time we should also think about the security part of it. Hmm? So why security is important in green communication? So security is important in green communication because we have a number of applications for sensors and for IoT networks. Here just I have listed the different kinds of applications. Okay, there is applications of sensors in a battlefield uh, to detect the enemy, or to detect the landmines which are placed by the enemy. So if there will be any kind of attacks on a battlefield, if I'm saying security attacks on a battlefield, so it may lead to a disaster situation. So yes, so that's why the security is important aspect in a IoT network or in your sensor networks. Then the next thing is a disaster monitoring. Yes, we use sensor networks for disaster monitoring. So suppose any natural calamities are happening or volcano activities are happening. So to monitor that volcano activity or earthquake activity, we use a sensor network for monitoring that. So if there will be any small mistake in administering or recognizing that activities through a sensors, because if my sensor will get attacked, obviously it will not be possible for it to detect it. So again, it will be a disaster situation. We can say that means it will be more than the natural disaster which will happen. Then yes, obviously my sensors are playing important role in a public safety. So if such kind of attack on happen on my public safety network, obviously it will be very difficult. Yes, we know that the sensors are playing major role nowadays in many healthcare applications. We have many healthcare devices which have sensors inbuilt in that. Just take a simple example that if I'm using my Fitbit watch, and my Fitbit watch, yes, it uses many sensing devices to sense the pulse of my body, uh, mm, uh, and many different aspects it sense. So if my Fitbit device get attacked, so what will happen? So obviously all my body mechanisms will be tracked by somebody else, and somebody can do something uh, wrong by using it. So yes, obviously, so in healthcare application, we use a sensing a lot nowadays. So it's very important to take care a security aspect with respect to that. Okay, so we understood why security is important. So now we need to understand how security is different in a sensor network than the other network. Uh, we already discussed on the first slide that sensors are the devices which have a very limited energy, very limited computational capabilities, very limited communication capabilities. So, in concern with that, we can simply say that sensors are very sensitive devices. So, and obviously they are deployed in some open areas. That means they, if I will say I have placed sensors in a battlefield, so it's completely open area, and again it's very difficult to access that open area too, because it's not possible to access the battlefield anytime. Hmm. Then again, we can say if I'm saying some sensors are placed for monitoring something like pollution monitoring in city on signals, so it will not be possible for me to change the sensors again and again. So deployment of a sensors also leads to some physical attacks on a sensors. Mm. Then the next thing is the sensor networks are closely interact with their physical environments and with people. Uh, so obviously, sometime before, so I have given an example of a Fitbit device which sends some data from a specific person. So sensors works with very closely with the people. Mm. They work very closely with the activities of the people, and the activity of people can get affected because if some attack will happen on this devices. So overall, that sensors are very sensitive devices. And when we want to deal with their security, we should deal with their security in very sensitive manner rather than other devices which we're using in our networks like computers or mobiles, which have a lot of computing power, a lot of energy. We can recharge their batteries and everything, but in case of sensors, it's not possible at all. So we should take care of it in very sensitive manner. So, so as a part of this session, we are specifically discussing on one specific kind of attack which is happening on mm, a sensor network. That's a denial of that's a denial of service attack. Yes, denial of service attack is a very common attack which happens on all kind of network, which denies some of the services which networks is providing. So we want to discuss here denial of service attacks in respect to the sensors. So what kind of service the sensors provide, and which service is the most important service in the sensors, and if it get affected, how it leads to a disaster situation. So the different services provided by the sensors are okay. Sensors sense something, and according to that, the some central node can take some actions based on to that data collected from sensing. So sensing is one of the service provided by the sensor. Okay, some data coming from the sensors through that sensing. The more then another thing we can say that when the sensors works, the sensor works in a two mode. Majorly sensor works in a sleep and listen mode. So when we say a listen mode, during a listen mode, the sensors are doing a sensing. And if there is no any kind of sensing in the environment, so instead of wasting the battery of my sensor, the sensors goes to the sleep mode. So during the sleep mode, they are not active, but they are on. So simply sensors works in a two mode, that is the listen mode and the sleep mode. So we can simply say one of the service provided by the one of the service which works at the sensor level is a listen and sleep service. And if that service will get attacked by some malicious user, so obviously my sensor, suppose I will say that this service will get attacked, and this attacker will not allow my sensors to go into the sleep state. So if my sensors are not going to the sleep state, so they will be continuously in an active state, continuously will be in a listening state. Listening statements, they continuously try to sense something, but it will not happen that every time they will get some data for sense. So sometime they may get some data for sense. So in this case, if they will be continuously in sensing, so their energy will be drained out. So this, so here we are majorly concentrating the service of the sensor. Denial of service in the sensor is called as denial of sleep. That means we are not allowing a sensor node to go to the sleep mode. So if it is not going to the sleep mode, so continuously its energy will be get drained. Attacker will not allow the sensor to go into the sleep state. So if the sensor will not go to the sleep state, so obviously it will be very difficult that node can, so that network can work for a longer time. So obviously it affects on my network, complete network lifetime. So simply I have shown here how the sensors works in a listen and sleep mode. So every sensor node, okay, initially it scheduled some sleep. It transmits some synchronization messages before transmitting. So during that synchronization message, it will exchange the sleep schedules with the node. That means after how much time or how much duration the sensor will go to the sleep mode. Then it will exchange some RTS and CTS messages for data exchange. That means this RTS and CTS message just to check the availability of the receiver, and according to that to do the data transmission afterwards. And once the data transmission is finished, if there is no any data to sense by the sensors or no any data to transmit to some base station or something, simply the sensor will go to the sleep mode. Yes, the sleep mode, already we said that the decision of this sleep schedule is already taken at the start during the synchronization messages, that after data transmission, for how much time the sensor will go to the sleep mode. So for some duration, it will go to the sleep mode. if it don't have any data to sense. Again, the condition is that the sleep schedule will activate only if there is no any immediate data to send by that specific sensor node. If it is no data to send, so it will go to the sleep and it will get active whenever some activity will be detected into the network. So if we can simply say about the diagram which I am showing, so your sleep time is almost contributing same like your listen time. So if you are skipping the sleep time, and during the sleep time, if it will be continuously in listen mode, so obviously it will affect a lot on the energy drain of my sensors. So I hope you understood what is denial of sleep attack. So here simply we are trying to deny the sensor not to go into the sleep mode. So for understanding more about this kind of situations, you can refer to the sources which I have mentioned below. Okay, so now there are different kinds of denial of sleep attacks are there. So this is a list of different kinds of denial of sleep attacks. We'll discuss each of these attacks in a detail and how they are affecting on the sensors. And at the end, we'll discuss about how we can develop the solutions for that. Okay, so different kind of denial of sleep attacks are collision attack, unintelligent reply attack, unauthenticated broadcast attack, full domination attack, exhaustion attack, and intelligent jamming attack. So this is a classification of different kinds of denial of sleep attack. So let's discuss one by one each attack, what it is mean by. So first attack is a collision attack. So just for your understanding, I am referring some of my own literature to give you understanding of this collision attack. So I'm considering that this nodes, node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4, these are my sensor nodes, okay, which are the part of my sensor network. They want to communicate with each other. They want to do some data transmission. They're doing the regular activity. In between that, some initial external attacker. Yes, obviously the external attacker is not a part of a network. Okay, it is some external node. It is some malicious node which will try to it's some external attacker which will try to make my original node into it will convert into the malicious node. So this external attacker will initiate the attack. When we say initiate the attack, so obviously for initiating the attack, it needs to understand how my network is behaving, what kind of activities my network is behaving. So that means obviously external attacker will study your network first, it will learn your network first, and then it will try to initiate the attack on your network. So here we are considering that external attacker is learning the network, what kind of activities are happening on a network, and from that it understood that some node 3 is a weak node in a network, so it will initiate the attack on that node or it can initiate the attack on any node because it identified that yes, I know how to deal with this network. It will attack on some specific node. Okay, it will initiate the attack and it will take a complete control of that node. It will convert that node into the malicious node and it will try to send some noise packets into the network. So these noise packets are not the data packets. It's simply some similar. It will be of a similar size of a data packets which are transmitted in a network, but it will not consist of any useful information. So simply that's why I'm saying it is a noise packet. So that's why it will be difficult for a network to differentiate in between actual data packets and this noise packets, because the size of this noise packet is same. They will also consist of the same kind of structure like header and the data part. So that's why it's very difficult for network to to separate out this attack. And this noise packet will get transmitted, or it will get broadcasted, we can simply say, from a malicious node into my whole network. Yes, so so this way, this malicious node will initiate the attack activity in a network. And if some event will be detected on my node 1, because my node 1 is a normal node, suppose we are considering that still now it have not sensed any kind of noise packet, or I mean it might have sent some noise packet, but it must simply have ignored that because it might be not destined to that specific node. So it will detect some event. And after detecting the events, obviously it want to transmit that information to some base station, and for transferring it towards the base station, it needs to take some path via some other nodes. I'm considering that it's taking path via some node 2 and node 3, and it want to transmit towards some base station. So obviously before starting transmission, it will request for send. It's like a normal, because already we discussed on the first slide that I'm considering all these things by considering a MAC layer, medium access control layer. So, and we know that in wireless network, we use a CSMA CA mechanism, CSMA CA based mechanisms. So in CSMA CA based mechanism, we exchange some RTS and CTS messages, and then we actually start with the data transmission. So it will simply send some request to send because it have data to send. This request to send can collide with noise packets coming from the malicious node, and there is a possibility of collision. So the first possibility of collision is that my request to send message will collide with my noise packets, and the collision can happen on my network. Then the another possibility I can say the collision attacker will affect that. Okay, my node will detect the event. It will get the channel clear by getting a clear to send from node 2, and it will start sending the data packet. But obviously it don't know the noise packets are continuously generated in a network. So these noise packets, because these noise packets are not following any rule of the network. It's not checking for the channel or nothing. So it's not following any rule of the network. So simply the collision will happen again whenever my data packets will be sent from a node 1. So simply here we need to understand, because of the noise packet which are introduced by the malicious node, it leads to a lot of collisions into the network. The collision may happen, the collision of my RTS messages will lead, the collision of my data messages will take place, and completely lot of collisions will take place in my network. And it will, if collision is there, obviously the node which have initiated the communication, it needs to retransmit the information. So again and again it needs to do a retransmission. And so obviously node 3 is a malicious node. It's already starting sending a noise packet, so its energy will drain very quickly, and it will again leads to a lot of collisions into the network. So other nodes energy will also drain very quickly in a network, and it leads to failure of a complete network. So this is about the collision attack. So if we see this collision attack, so it also so it is considered as one of the denial of slip attack, because my my nodes will be continuously busy in getting a messages, either continuously be busy in sensing something, or continuously be busy in receiving the noise packets from the malicious node. Then the another kind of another kind of denial of slip attack we can say in sensors, it is an unintelligent reply attack. In this case, we are considering that my that means we can say that this reply attack is unintelligent one. My external attacker is not an intelligent device. It cannot separate out in between the data packets and the control packets. So that intelligence it do not have. So what it will do, this external attacker simply, like initially I said, it will make some node as a malicious node, and it depends on to the event. It will not simply start to send the noise packets into the network. This malicious node will wait for some event to happen on this node. It will wait for some event to be detected on this node, And once the event will be detected on this node, so what it will do, it will send either the data messages or the control packets in a network. It will not broadcast it, but it will forward it to some in-between nodes. And this in-between nodes will forward it to the other nodes. So such kind of activity, it will continuously replay. It will just wait for some event to happen into the network, and it will replay that same event again and again into the network. So it will make your node 4 to be continuously busy in just sending the information of one single event only. And it will not allow your node 4 to go into the slip. So energy of node 4 will drain very quickly into the network. So in the replay attack, my attacker is not intelligent. It cannot differentiate any kind of data or control packets. It will simply wait for event to happen onto the node which it make malicious. And once the event will happen onto that node, it will simply start to replay that same event continuously in a network. So that is the situation of unintelligent replay attack. Then the next situation is that is unauthenticated broadcast attack. In case of unauthenticated broadcast attack situation, you can simply try to analyze this diagram. So in this case also, my external attacker will attack onto the some node into the network. It will make that node malicious. If some event will be detected, so again this attacker will also wait for some event to happen onto the malicious node, which is node 3. Once the event will happen, it will simply create some broadcast packet. This broadcast packet, it is a broadcast packet, so that means it will go to each and every node. It will go to each and every node, and in this case, we are considering that that every node have some authentication mechanism. That means if some message is coming from any other node, so every node is verifying it first. So we and for that verification purpose, we require some authentication mechanism on each and every node. So that is a consideration in case of this attack. But my node, malicious node, don't have that authentication. That is a consideration. So whenever it will send a broadcast packets to all these nodes, so obviously the authentication will fail. But my normal node will waste some time, will waste some energy to deal with this messages which are coming from this malicious node towards the normal node. It will waste some time, it will waste some energy for authentication purpose. Obviously the authentication will fail, but it will waste some time to do the authentication. Then again, it will not replay this event continuously. Again, if it will be some event will be detected, then again it will broadcast it to the all node, and it will try to do the authentication. It will try to deal with each node for the authentication, and obviously the nodes will not allow for the authentication because this malicious node don't have any authentication information. So unauthenticated broadcast attack, where my attacker is again, it's not an intelligent attacker. This attacker do not have any kind of information. That means not a complete information of a network, not authentication information of each and every node in my network. Then the next kind of attack, which are somewhat more disastrous than whatever the attacks which we learned till now. The next kind of attack is a full domination attack. It itself says that it's trying to dominate your network in a complete way. So it will not initiate the attack on a single node. It will try to initiate the attack on a multiple nodes in a network, and it will try to take a complete. It will try to dominate your complete network. But in this case also, the consideration is that whichever the node will get attacked because of full domination attack, that node will wait for event to be detected onto the specific node, which is converted to be a malicious. So here I'm considering that it made some node number 4 as a malicious. It will wait for event to be detected on that node. So yes, once the event is detected on that node, what it will do, it will simply broadcast the messages. So when we say I'm broadcasting these messages, so it's according to which attack? According to my broadcast attack. Okay. But here the consideration is that yes, full domination attacker or the intelligent attacker, they already studied a network very well. They learn network very well, and they know what is the authentication information of each and every node. So it's we can simply say it is authenticated broadcast attack. When I'm saying broadcast messages in this case, so this is authenticated broadcast attack, not unauthenticated broadcast attack. So obviously each node will try to deal with this messages. Here in this case, the authentication will not fail. Each node will try to read these messages because authentication will be successful in this case. Then one more thing is there in case of full domination attack. One more characteristic of full domination attack is that this full domination attack also leads to replay of the event. So that means whichever the event is detected, they will replay the event. They will replay that event again and again into the network. So simply we can say full domination attack is a kind of a combination of your broadcast attack plus your replay attack. So both attacks combinedly try to dominate your network completely. And obviously, so in this case, a lot of collisions will happen into the network. Each node will try to deal with the messages which are coming from malicious node instead of dealing with their actual events which are happening onto the network. So a lot of energy they will waste unnecessarily, which should not be wasted. So that's about a full domination attack. The next attack is a specific kind of attack. It's called as exhaustion attack. This exhaustion attack is not specifically for that means in case of this attack, obviously whichever is a malicious node, it will wait for event to happen on that specific node. Once the external attacker convert that node into the malicious node, it will wait for the event to happen. Okay, once the event will happen, it will send some RTS message to the specific node. It will not send the RTS message to all nodes in a network. In this case, we are not considering that the attacker is broadcasting something. It will simply send some control message like a RTS message to one specific node. Once that specific node, here I'm considering that specific node as a node 2. Once it will send a clear to send to the malicious node. What the malicious node will do? Malicious node will not send any data. It will continuously keep on repeating the RTS messages towards node number 2. And what it will try to do? Yes, it will try to affect node 2 as much as possible. Because it will continuously try to affect node 2 simply by sending the RTS messages repeatedly towards node 2. That means it will try to exhaust the node 2 completely. Instead of exhausting the complete network, it try to exhaust your network one by one. So it will first exhaust your node 2. Then once the node 2 will be get exhausted, I'm saying that in terms of that the whole energy of a node 2 will be finished, and it will try to exhaust the other nodes, node 1 and node 3. So that's a exhaustion attack. So in case of exhaustion attack, also your attacker is intelligent attacker. What kind of protocol you're using in your network? So whenever I'm saying that the attacker is detecting the event and it is transmitting some RTS message and waiting for CTS reply to get it from the node 2. So attacker have a knowledge of what kind of protocol, what kind of rules you're following for doing the communication in a network, and it will step by step. It will try to vanish your, try to exhaust your each node. And such kind of attacks are very difficult to detect because they are following the rules and regulations of your network. They're following the protocols of your network. So they are difficult to detect. Then the last kind of attack which we are discussing here, that is intelligent jamming attack. So in case of intelligent jamming attack, we are considering that here my attacker is very much intelligent. It knows what kind of protocols I'm using in a network. It knows, yes, obviously we require to transmit RTS and CTS messages in network, so it knows to the attacker. The attacker also can differentiate in between the control events and the data events. Then again, by making the differentiation of both of these events, control events and the data events, accordingly, the attacker will try to replay the events in a network. So obviously, it will try, if there is some control event will be detected in a network. That means if there is some RTS message will be there in a network. So it will simply try to unicast that control messages instead of broadcasting that messages, because it don't want that anybody to catch that okay, the node 4 is malicious. So whenever there is a control event will be detected, so it will simply transmit it to the specific node. Suppose I'm saying node 3 is a node for whom this control event is belongs to. So it will only transmit it to the node 3. It will simply unicast that message towards node 3. But whenever it will detect a data message, because it knows that the data messages are larger than the control messages, so it will simply try to broadcast that data messages as much as possible in a network, and it will try to replay also that same messages in a network. And it will try to affect your network as much as possible by draining the energy of all the nodes in a network at the same time by uh, by by replaying the events continuously in a network. So in this case, the consideration is that the attacker have a full knowledge of your network. The attacker have a full knowledge of what kind of protocols you use in your network. Attacker have a full knowledge of if there is some collisions in a network, how you're dealing with that. Attackers have full authentication. It knows all authentication information of your network. So these are the different attacks which happens normally on normally happens on medium access control layer, or you can simply say data link layer of your sensor network or a IoT network. And to detect these attacks is a bit a difficult task. This diagram just give you a these are some of our own results, which shows that how these attacks affects on to the performance of my network. So we consider so simply if we say like this ZMAC is my normal MAC mechanism. ZMAC is Zebra MAC. Okay, it's a hybrid medium access control mechanism which works in two modes. Collision, that means it works in both. It works in CSMA and TDMA mode. So that means whenever there is too much traffic in a network, it use a CSMA mode, and whenever there is a too much that means there is a control traffic in a network, not too much traffic in a network, then it goes to a TDMA mode by using some slots. So this is somewhat kind of hybrid mechanism, and it's kind of one of the efficient hybrid MAC mechanisms for a sensor network. So if I will say that in the normal cases, the energy consumption of this ZMAC is very low. So that means if my packet interval is increasing, so my energy consumption is very less into the network. In this case, my assumption is that I'm considering 100 nodes in a network. My packet size is 100 bytes. So by considering that, and the interval in between each packet, simply I'm changing. So as my so by using this interval, I'm just trying to consider that I'm increasing the amount of traffic in my network per second. So the energy consumption of a ZMAC in a normal situation without any attack is very good. But as the different attacks are started to happen, so you can simply say the exhaustion attack. Yes, it's a next. Uh, it will affect on my network. It will consume some of energy. Then you can say about unauthenticated broadcast attack is the next dangerous one. And the most dangerous attack which drain a lot of energy of my network is a intelligent jamming attack, because in this case this attacker knows whole protocol. It knows everything about your network, what kind of protocols, how many nodes, all information of your network is available with the attacker. In the same way, you can see that in a normal situation, the ZMAC gives you quite a good throughput, at most up to 80%. But as the attacks start to happen into the network, and intelligent jamming attacker affects highly on the performance of the ZMAC. So this diagram simply shows you how these different attacks affects on to the performance of your sensor wireless sensor node. Okay, so so this is about different kinds of attack. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So accordingly, I can start with the next part. Anybody have any doubts till now, whatever we discuss?
If anyone has a doubt, you can unmute and discuss.
If no, then I can continue.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, CSMA and TDMA combination will reduce the energy consumption.
CSMA, yes, that means when we say CSMA and TDMA combination, yes, it's reduced the energy consumption. Because when we say CSMA, CSMA is based medium access control mechanism. So in that case, every node can transmit without having any specific time slot. And if there will be collisions onto the network, yes, it will try to avoid that collisions, and for that purpose, it needs to wait for more time. So if waiting is increasing into the network, so obviously more energy get drained into the network. When I say a TDMA side, in case of TDMA side, yes, my every node will get some slot, and it will do a communication at some specific slot only. So energy consumption of TDMA based protocol is much lesser than a CSMA based network. But the problem with the TDMA based medium access control mechanism is that every node requires the slot, and during the slot only they can do the communication. So they are more delay sensitive. So this hybrid kind of mechanisms, they try to do some kind of trade-off. So we get we'll not get energy efficiency like TDMA, but we get a better energy efficiency than CSMA. But our delays will also be lesser than a TDMA. So hybrid mechanism will try to take advantages of only each kind of mechanism. So ZMAC is not showing a much better energy efficiency than your TDMA based mechanism, but it shows better energy efficiency than CSMA based mechanism, but it shows better delay efficiency than your TDMA based mechanism. So we are trying to compromise something. So by using hybrid MAC mechanism, we are trying to make our network much better. We get much better delays than the TDMA network. But obviously, we need to trade off with the energy at somewhat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. So let's go to the next thing. Okay. So these are the different attacks which can happen onto the WSN node. But we also analyze some of the attack through our experimentation, and we also try to develop some attacks for our experimental purpose to develop some specific solutions to to the specific set of protocols. So here, before going to the next slide, just simply I want to discuss about this ZMAC mechanism more, because in the next part I'm mostly dealing with the security attacks which are happening majorly on a hybrid MAC mechanism, because till now whatever the attacks we discuss, these attacks can happen on any kind of MAC mechanisms. but some kind of hybrid, some kind of attacks can specifically attacks on to the hybrid MAC mechanism. These hybrid MAC mechanisms are much better options when you do whenever you have that means small area network. That means suppose you have a small wireless sensor network at your home, for your home network, for your small WSN network. So hybrid MAC mechanisms are a better option than the other MAC mechanism. So in this MAC mechanism, my network can move from CSMA to TDMA mode according to the traffic situations in a network. So if there is too much traffic in my network, so it will works in a CSMA mode. But if the traffic in my network will go down, it switch the mode. That means it switched the mode in my network. So that means simply it's a reverse. That if there is too much traffic in my network, so obviously there will be too many collisions in my network. If I will use simply a CSMA CA, so I don't want too many collisions in a network. So I will switch my network to the TDMA mode if there is too much traffic in my network. If there is too less traffic in a network, so I don't want to waste my time to wait for a slot. So I will switch my network to the CSMA mode. So default mode in a network is a CSMA, but according to the traffic situation in network, if traffic is too much, I will move to the TDMA mode. If the traffic is too less, I will switch to the CSMA mode. And this switching is based on some specific kind of threshold. That means we can simply say this threshold is nothing but some kind of collision threshold. So if my number of collisions in a network are more than the amount of collisions my network can handle, then accordingly it will check for the threshold value and it will switch the mode. So in such kind of mechanism, how the node, how the all nodes in a network will get to know about that we need to switch the mode from CSMA to TDMA and TDMA to CSMA if there is a need to switch the mode. So in such kind of mechanism, if the collision is going beyond some threshold value, so the node, the first network will detect that okay, collision is going beyond some threshold value, and whichever the node will sense it that okay, collision is going beyond the threshold value, what that node will simply do, it will generate one message that is called as ECN message, that is called as explicit contention notification message. So the this explicit contention notification message will be sensed by the will be generated by the node who will sense the collisions more than a threshold value, and it will transmit that message in a whole network to know to all nodes into the network that there is a collisions which are beyond the threshold value. So it indicates that there is too much traffic into the network. So now it's a time to switch our mode from CSMA to TDMA. So we can simply say in this ZMAC kind of mechanism, so ECN message is a message which tells about each node to switch a mode from CSMA to TDMA and TDMA to CSMA. Again, if the collisions are less, so it will again transmit that ECN message. So just imagine a situation that, so we will simply say that the service provided by such kind of medium access control mechanism is a ECN message which tells about to switch the mode according to the traffic situations into the network. And if that message will get tampered, if that message will get tampered, then what will happen? If that message will get tampered, so obviously the switching service which my network provide for moving from CSMA mode to TDMA mode and TDMA to CSMA mode, that service will stop. So for our experimentation purpose, we have developed this attack as a ECN attack. So where we are considering that okay, network will initiate the attack. If it is a normal node, what it will do, it will detect the event and it will send the packet. If there is a collision on a node, and if the collisions are beyond some threshold value, so the node will create a ECN message and it will transmit that ECN message to all nodes in the network, and it will ask all the nodes to switch their mode. The node, obviously the normal node can receive the ECN message. If it will receive the ECN message. It will change its modes and it will forward the packet to the forward the packet to the other nodes by saying that there is a there is a collision into the network, or there is a collision onto some specific path onto the network. So if there is collision onto the specific path onto the network, we should switch our mode, and at the same time, if there is some transmission is going on, so for that transmission we should change the path. So now in this attack situation, what we are considering that the attacker, we are considering that the attacker is an intelligent attacker, and it notes about how these ECN messages are get transmitted into the network. So what the attacker will do, the attacker will generate some false ECN messages into the network, and this false ECN messages will be received by whom? The false ECN messages will be received by my normal node, if the false ECN messages will receive by the normal node, so my normal node will get, I will not say confused, this is the wrong word I use here. I will say, yes, obviously they can read that message, yes, but somehow they will get confused because just sometime before the situation was very normal, but suddenly this ECN messages they will get. So they will get confused and they will change their communication path, and they will also try to work on switching the mode. And this malicious user will continuously transmit the these ECN messages into the network as a noise messages, and it will continuously try to disturb your whole transmission. And again the paths will get changed in your network, your modes will get into your network, so it will make a lot of trouble in your network. Okay, so this is one kind of attack which can disturb your network. So what is the solution for this attack? So obviously we have some solution already which exists in network, that I'm saying that if my collisions are going beyond some threshold value, so already that mechanism is already there inside the ZMAC mechanism to check about a collision threshold. So if my collisions are going beyond some threshold value, so there might be two situations are there in ZMAC. One situation in case of normal ZMAC is there, it should switch the mode, but my network should check for one more situation in that case. That means if my collisions are going beyond the threshold value, so it should check what is the reason for that. What is the reason for that? Either that reason, if that reason is a normal reason, yes, so it should switch the mode, but it should learn that reason also. It should analyze that reason also for switching the mode because of increase in collision threshold value. If it will not analyze it, then obviously sometime or many times it's a attacking situation, because obviously the attacker is increasing the amount of collisions in a network. So that collision threshold value which is already available in this ZMAC mechanism, we can use that collision threshold value for both purposes, for switching the mode and for detecting the attacks also on the network. So no need of any kind of new security mechanisms for this ZMAC, that means hybrid kind of MAC mechanism. So here what I want to focus here, that when we say a security for a sensor node or for a wireless sensor node, that is, wireless sensor nodes are very lightweight devices, so they cannot that means they cannot that means if I will use some cryptographic mechanism, if I will use some very heavyweight security mechanisms like cryptographic mechanisms on this sensor node, so it will be very difficult for them to cope up with that security mechanism, because obviously cryptographic mechanisms have a lot of computations, they have a lot of memory requirements, so that much memory requirements my sensor devices cannot satisfy. So for my sensor devices, we require a lightweight security mechanisms, or we require some inherent security mechanism which is already there inside the mechanisms which are already used inside the sensor node. So if we use a hybrid MAC mechanism, so it already have a collision threshold value, so that collision threshold value we can use for both purposes, for detecting the attack and for switching the modes. Yes, we did some experimentation on this, and we come up to the conclusion that okay, the inherent security mechanisms are much better than using any kind of higher cryptographic mechanism. So currently we don't have time to much discuss about on that, but just a conclusion on this slide is that we should use some lightweight or inherent security mechanisms for a sensor network, because obviously our aim for the sensor network is that we want our sensor networks should be energy efficient. We want it should be green. So if you want it to be green and secure, so your security mechanism should be inherent. One more attack we have analyzed by considering a cluster-based sensor network. Because cluster-based sensor network is one more solution to make your sensor network energy efficient and secure. But in this case also we try to analyze some more attack situation we try to analyze, that is a cluster attack. That those who have studied this sensor network, they already know that there are two kinds of communications in a cluster-based network: inter-cluster communication and intra-cluster communication. So if there will be attack at both sides for inter-cluster communication and for intra-cluster communication. So intra-cluster communication means the communication inside the cluster. Inter-cluster communication means the communication in between the cluster. The communication in between the cluster is happening through a cluster head. So if my cluster head will get tampered, so this cluster head, the major task of cluster head is to aggregate the information from all the nodes and to transmit that information towards the other cluster head, and from that other cluster head, that information can go to the base station. So the role of my cluster head is to aggregate the information coming from all the nodes, and if this cluster head will get tampered in a network, so it's a disaster situation in a network. So this cluster head attack talks about that. So if there will be a cluster head attack in a network, so obviously first my network will be malicious. That means it will attack on my cluster head. My cluster head will be converted into the malicious cluster head. This malicious cluster head, I'm considering that it have a capabilities. Yes, obviously it's a cluster head, so it have a capability to take take a data from all the nodes into the network. And the cluster head can also send the messages in a reverse way. That means the links which are at the cluster head, which are bidirectional links. So it will convert the cluster head into the malicious cluster head. This malicious cluster head send the reverse malicious packets towards the normal node. So if normal node is getting some traffic from the cluster head, so there is a possibility of some intra-cluster collision. Then this malicious cluster head will send the aggregated information to the base station or to other cluster head, and they will also retransmit this aggregated information in a whole network. They will retransmit the aggregated information into the whole network. So this retransmitted information into the whole network, and when I'm saying whole network, it's a complete network. It's a network of cluster head plus normal node. So this retransmitted information may get collide with the normal information which a normal cluster head is trying to transmit towards the base station. So it leads to the inter-cluster collisions too. So this cluster attack leads to intra-cluster collision, and it also leads to the inter-cluster collision. So to find out the solutions for such kind of attack, like a cluster attack, it's much difficult task. So you can consider this as one of the challenging issues, that if I'm having such attacks at a both, that means for intercluster also and for intracluster also, communication in a sensor nodes or in an IoT network. So how we can deal with such kind of attack is, obviously there are some inherent mechanisms already available. So if I will use a ZMAC kind of mechanisms in my networks, obviously for me it will be easier to detect the attack simply by using collision threshold. Or there is one more solution we offered through our studies, that we can say there are two kinds of slots in a network. One is a secure slot and another is a normal slot into the network. Secure slots will be useful for a secure communication. Which is a secure communication? The communication in between the cluster head is a secure communication because it is more sensitive. Why it is sensitive? Because cluster heads are gathering the information from all nodes, and they need to send it towards the base station. So that's why I'm saying the communication of cluster heads is a sensitive communication. So for sensitive communication, we'll use a secure slot. For a normal communication, if a normal node want to do the communication with the cluster head, that communication I'm not considering very sensitive, so they will use a normal slot. So there will be two kinds of slot we can have in a network: secure slot and the normal slot. During the secure slot, before using the secure slot, the node who want to use the secure slot, they need to take this secure slot from a secure pool. So we are considering some extra pool in a network, that is secure pool, and this secures whichever the node have a secure slot. Before using the slot, it needs to do some kind of authentication and authorization. So again, we are not using cryptographic mechanisms for authentication and authorization. We will use simple authentication and authorization, and that is not in a whole network. That is only at a cluster head side, not to the all nodes into the network. So such kind of solutions also shows a better performance to deal with cluster head attack. But this is one of the challenging issue to find out the solutions for a cluster attack, because my IoT network is growing. It is expanding the boundaries. So if you want to scale your IoT network further, the cluster-based IoT network is only the solutions. So a lot of attacks may come. A lot of new attack may happen on this cluster-based network. So to develop the solutions on that is a challenging task. Okay, so what's the conclusions for today's session? I will simply conclude now. What we studied, okay, what are the different serious different kind of denial of service attacks can happen onto the network, specifically by considering medium access control layers of wireless sensor network. Which are some of the attacks and which are some of the solutions are there, possible solutions for some of the attacks which happens on a medium access control mechanism that we have discussed. Then we also come to the conclusion that cryptographic solutions are not too much, it's not a better solutions for sensor kind of devices because of its overheads on a network. So we require some lightweight solutions which can use the immunity of protocol, which use already some kind of inherent things are there inside each protocol, some features already there inside each protocol. By using that features, we can make the network, we can defend it from a security attack instead of adding some extra burden of security mechanisms onto the network. And at the end, I want to conclude that, okay, obviously the attackers are going intelligent. Attackers are trying to learn my network, and according to that, they're trying to develop the solutions. So it is, that means it is emerging domain, or it's already emerged from last 5 years. A lot of people are working on how to develop the some intelligent solutions for IoT network. We are also working on that part. So so using your machine learning, deep learning approaches, we can analyze different attack situations on a network, and we can come up with some solutions. And these solutions will be much more efficient than cryptographic solutions for such kind of IoT networks. So this is about for today's session. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Request to participants, if you have any questions, you can ask, or you can also write it in chat box also. So we'll take
there
one
is
by
one
one.
question in the chat box.
Yes.
When in TDMA mode, how to know there is a collision as each node will send in the given slot?
So in a TDMA mode, we already said that every node will sense the collision, correct? So if there is a collision in a by using TDMA, and if these collisions are going beyond some threshold value, so node will transmit the ECN message. So in case of hybrid mechanism, the ECN message is there, which gives the information about changing the mode from CSMA to TDMA. So in TDMA mode also, it will check for the collisions also. So the answer for that is that we are considering that in a Zermak mechanism, there is some threshold is known to every node in a network. Either it is in TDMA mode or either it is in a CSMA mode. So because when I'm saying TDMA mode, in that case, every node is using some specific slot for doing the communication, but still in TDMA also there are possibilities of collision. So we are not skipping the collision threshold values to be available with every node. So every node have a collision threshold value in the TDMA mode also. So whenever it will sense some collisions which are going beyond threshold value in a TDMA mode also, so it needs to think, okay, there are still some collisions in a TDMA mode too. So in that case, it will transmit a ECN message if it will go beyond some collision threshold value. But the collision threshold value is maintained in such a way that in a network that this threshold value is by considering that there will be no collisions in a TDMA mode, because collisions in a TDMA modes are lesser than a CSMA mode. So it will be considering that there will be no collisions, or the assumption is that there are no collisions in a TDMA network, or there are less collisions in a TDMA network than a CSMA network, and it's normal assumption. So that's the assumption. But still, if a network will sense the collision, yes, so obviously it's not a normal situation. So if it is a node is sensing the collisions in a TDMA mode, so it is a attacking situation. So obviously the network should detect that it's an attacking situation. Yes, so this is the answer for this question. Any more question?
Participants, if you have any questions, you can please.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes. You told in the beginning that the nodes will go to sleep when, or they will be in the sleep mode or the active mode. So, is it possible for the cluster head to make in the sleep mode or active mode?
Yes, because cluster head is also the normal node. Because cluster head is not a cluster head do not have, where is the diagram? Okay, when we say a cluster based network, so in a cluster based network we have a cluster head. The cluster heads are also like your normal node. They are not they do not have any kind of extra battery or extra communication capabilities. They are like a normal node. They are elected as a cluster head from a normal node. So this cluster head also have a listen and slip mechanism. So whenever they don't have any activity to do, they will go to the sleep mode.
So is it needed to do such programming to make it in the sleep mode, or?
Yes. So that means if the cluster head, see now, if my if my sensor nodes are sensing something, so if sensor nodes are sensing, that means at that time my cluster head is not sensing, because cluster head cluster head might be not sensing that time, but it may sense something, correct? Because it's a normal node. So if it is not sensing something, so it can go to the sleep mode. So there should be a programming should be like that your cluster head should also go into also work in a listen and sleep mode.
Yes, because sir, as per my knowledge, the cluster head is always active.
No, cluster head, because cluster head is a normal node in a network. It's not, if you know, if you have gone through a different kind of cluster selection algorithm like Leech, okay, which consider that the cluster head is a node. It's like, it's get elected from the normal node.
Yes.
So that means it's a normal node who get extra responsibility to be act as a cluster head. Why it is getting extra responsibility as a cluster head? Because it may have a more energy than the other nodes. So that's why I'm saying that, okay, it can act as a cluster head, or it may have some okay, majorly in a Leech kind of mechanism, we consider that energy is a constraint which we consider for selecting a cluster head. And if after some time again I need to re-elect a new cluster head, so again I'm re-electing a new cluster head from the normal node itself. So cluster head is a normal node, so it should do the communication like a normal node. Only the normal node should not do a communication directly to the base station. Normal node should send the communication to the cluster head, and they should do all the ClusterNet should aggregate it and send it to the base station. But the ClusterNet can also sense some information coming to it. So it should work in a listen and sleep mode.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Prashant sir, conclude kara.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're
Yes.
audible.
Yeah. So as today is the last day of our FDP, so on the behalf of our organizing team, I would like to give the concluding vote of thanks. I am very much humbled to say thank you to respected speaker, Dr. Pranav Pawar sir, for giving his precious time and the knowledge to all the participants. Really, sir, your content today will be helpful for all of us in future time. Thank you, sir. I am also thankful to all the participants for attending this FDP online. Thank you very much. I am thankful to Dr. D.D. Chaudhary sir, Vice Principal SIT Lonavala, for their support. Special thanks to Dr. Sarika Chavan, Madam, Student Chair, IEEE Bombay Section, for technical sponsorship. Thank you, Madam. I sincerely thank to our respected Principal, Director, Dr. M.S. Gaikwad sir, for their motivation and guidance. I am thankful to our STS management for giving permission for this FDP. I'm also thankful to all the eminent speakers who have given their precious time and knowledge to all of us. My thanks also goes to all the people who have given their contribution in organizing this FDP. I acknowledge the unwavering support received from the head of the department and teaching and non-teaching faculty from the Department of SIT Lonavala. I once again thank everyone whose contribution has made this FDP as a successful FDP. So thank you all. Again, I would like to thank the organizing team, Mantri sir, Dr. Mantri sir, Dr. D.D. Chaudhary sir, and Dr. Golab sir, Bosle sir, and our technical head, Raskar sir. So once again, thank you all. And one for participants, the feedback link will be sent on the WhatsApp group. So thank you all. Over to you, sir. Mantri sir.
Okay, thank you. Just a recap in short. It is a totally technical FDP. In the same FDP, many speakers has given the insight about the diverse applications, as I told in the initial phase. At the same time, the FDP was value added with the technical sponsorship from the IEEE Bombay section at the end moment. So we must thank to all those who are involved directly or indirectly in making this FDP successful. Special thanks to the participants, because they were continuously listening and no one is leaving the meeting. This is what I observed in throughout the sessions. So once again, I thank to all my colleagues, my friends, then my good speakers from the different parts or different institutions, and not but least the principal of the SIT Lonavala and the management of Srinagar Institutes. So thank you very much. One more announcement. At 1 o'clock, you will receive the link for participation of certificate, where you will have to put your name correctly, email address correct, at the same time organization. And the link will be open till 2 p.m. only. At 1 o'clock, we will share after looking towards this all attendance and all. And then at 2 o'clock, we will close this link. So thank you very much. And hopefully you have enjoyed the FDP. Stay safe, stay at home. Take care of yourself and bye-bye. Thank you. Raskar sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Or just a minute.